this is just the most adorable little small town.
I think it's one of the best places to raise a family.
Well, what's nice about Cape May is that you could describe almost all of the businesses as mom and pops.
You want to go there and experience Cape May.
You have a problem, people rally, you feel the love, and you know how important we all are to each other.
Welcome to Cape May Trading Post at Dellas, a coastal community store.
First memory of the Lobster House.
First memory of the Lobster House was actually before I owned any businesses here.
Yeah.
And we had a family dinner, and your brother had to have a lobster because you got a bib. And he wanted a bib.
Okay.
And the lobster comes out, and it's huge, and he looks at it, and he's like, no. Anyway, that's my first memory. But I love the Lobster House because it's a family establishment, and it's very casual to eat, and it feels like a home inside.
It does. It's, for perspective, for those that don't know the Lobster House is, it's one of the, it's got rated top 10 restaurants, seaside restaurants in the country. It has, God knows, you know, just how unbelievably successful and the impact it's had, not just on Cape May, but the whole state of New Jersey. This thing is just monstrous. But to your point, I think the casual side of it, people don't maybe understand. You could come in here off a boat and be in flip-flops and a t-shirt and go eat and have a nice time, or you could be in suit and tie and no one would say anything. But, you know, you're here a lot, you're here year-round working, but some of my favorite memories here are with you and our family, and it's like a cold February day, and it's February, so mom finished up work Saturday at 2, and you're like, let's go to Lobster House for lunch. And it's simple, but it's fun. By the fire, it's nice.
Yeah, you can sit by the fireplace, you can sit outside if it's the summer.
Talk about Keith Lauderman, because I know you have a ton of respect for Keith. Keith is his grandparents, his parents, you know, founded this place. His daughter owns Mayors. He currently owns Lobster House. We saw him today at breakfast. He's everywhere. I know you have a ton of respect for him. The town has a ton of respect for him. He does things the right way, and he's really just created and carried on an unbelievable legacy of this place.
Legacies are very interesting because you have to see everything through, and you take it seriously. And a family business, which is why I think I respect Keith, it is one that takes a lot of juggling. And you come over the big bridge of Cape May, if anyone knows Cape May, and you see the iconic Lobster House sign, which it's almost like you're entering Disneyland. And this is the gateway to what you might experience over the next 2 miles as you drive into town. So the Lobster House is iconic to setting the tone. And I think that's why I just love the overall history, the family history. The old photos that line the lobby are interesting and intriguing. And I'm sure there's tons of history by a simple black and white photo. And I often look in there and I wonder if our grandfather, our fathers could have been in some of the photos, because they loved fishing and they loved talking about Cape May, although we never experienced it with them. Yeah. But it's fascinating, and the history of Cape May is just fascinating, which is why I wanted to start this series.
Yeah, Dave, my father, he talks about coming back here back in the day in the old coat and tie. So it's just tremendous. Talk about it. You mentioned why you wanted to start the series. We've had numerous discussions over an Orange Crush at the Lobster House about it on the schooner. We've talked about it at the Seaview. We've talked about it at Trading Post. And it's constantly, hey, you know, someone just walked by and they just told this great story. We're sitting at breakfast this morning and we're preparing for the show today. And you're like, that's why we're doing the show. Because someone's like, talking about Keith and the history of the Lobster House. And you're just like, this is it, capturing the history of Cape May. But can you dive into it? Because it's really a great initiative that you are really behind.
The Orange Crush, some of the best ideas come out of a happy hour. Everyone knows that. Yeah. If you could just remember it the next day or write it down.
We write it down. We write it down.
But the Orange Crushes are delicious.
Yes.
You know, so many friends of ours, my husband and I, your father, they want to share all this information with us because we are part of the community from a business perspective. We are a family that grew up here for 30 plus years, but we're not old Cape May history, and I mean the 30 years before we entered the town. So there's about 60 to 75 years, I feel, that the community, the business community, the people that live here, we have not documented anything. We might document social media, what we think is the moment, but it's about 60 to 75 years, I feel, is not documented. And they start just telling me stories, and I ask another question, and then they tell me another story. I'm like, nobody has this. This is not written anywhere. And I want us to take the history of Cape May from the, I'll say, 1960s forward. I think it's well documented from the 1960s to the 1800s. We have some content, and some of that will never be captured. But why not take a moment while we're all working extremely fast to slow ourselves down and maybe take what's required as a business owner, a property owner, because this is a very unique town, and it has layers upon layers of history. Some history is residential, meaning your little neighborhood that you live in, and some might be from the business community, and some might be from the religious communities, and all the boating communities. There's tons of little pockets, and there's layers upon layers that can be peeled back in Cape May.
I think that's what makes Cape May special, because it has a ton of layers. Someone asked me about a certain town, I'm like, that's kind of one layered, or this town maybe it's two layered. Kind of what you see is what you get. You go to other shore towns, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. You have businesses in those shore towns too, and several, all the way from you're talking Spring Lake, the old days LBI, right, all the way down through Cape May, and they all have their their positives. But at the end of the day, they're kind of one layered. It's the beach, it's the restaurant, it's family tradition. People come into work and they leave, and they have history too. Don't get me wrong, but here that's a really excellent point of. Behind you are scallop boats. This is like the number 2 distributor of, I think it is, scallops in the country, right? There's a whole fishing fleet. There's a whole, obviously, hospitality side. Then there's the whole commercial, resident, the Coast Guard. Cape May Point is like another country. I mean, it feels like you're in, like, where are we? The fog and just a small town and the little post office. It's unique. Take us back to your early days in Cape May, because we say quote unquote grew up here, but really it was mom working. Curry and I are hanging around town, going to the Lemon Tree for breakfast, going down to the promenade and playing arcade games, and you're trying to keep an eye on us down the street and sell and get the store ready for the week and run around, and it's fond memories for Curry and I. But how'd you come across this town? Why Cape May, and what drove you here?
My husband Dave had a business, a telephone technology company, and he had a company meeting here, and we had stayed at a bed and breakfast on Jackson Street, and it just happened to land on what was called Oktoberfest. And Oktoberfest back then was people bringing their food from their house onto a sidewalk, and before you know it, there was about 300 people in front of these 2 or 3 houses on Jackson Street. And it actually was right across from the Virginia Hotel. So I looked at the bed and breakfast, out the bed and breakfast window, and I saw these people. I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks like a great place to have a store. And that kind of was the spark. And then just, going to dinner and the rolled back pace of the town, it was intriguing because it was still a very vibrant, and that was probably it had to be the late 80s. Or early 90s, and intrigued me enough to continue to look for a location which was not plentiful, but Congress Hall was dilapidated, and there was a store on the corner that was vacant, and Congress Hall was just maybe in the point of disrepair, but the 2 buildings were still enough to rent. So it was myself, Les Silhouettes Lingerie, and another tenant, Victorious, that were the 2 tenants were there in a rundown building. And that space right now is the Blue Pig.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Full circle, we were in there for our wedding doing like food tasting and all this. You know, these are our first store. There's that iconic photo of, I think it's me, right, holding the chandelier.
When you were walking in, I have a picture of a chandelier in your hand. I think you were probably 2, because everyone has to, you know, when I open a store, everybody has to feel like they're a part of it. And I'm just thinking, oh boy, this thing is going to drop and break.
Well, why'd you pick me? Well,
You probably wanted it.
I probably wanted it. I don't have a choice. Where to next? So let's just start from there. Your kind of journey. I think you paint the picture. Okay, so Blue Pig. Then we moved to this location, and then we opened another store. Like, talk about that, because I think it's super unique. It's rare, and while you're doing that, paint the picture of kind of what the mall is at the time to what it grew to today.
It is an interesting journey, and the Cape May Les Silhouettes Lingerie was the 3rd store that I had opened, and I thought this was a tourism town, and I understood that business from being in Peddler's Village in Bucks County, but still I wanted to get on this 3-block strip, which was called the Washington Street Mall. It seemed vibrant, it seemed busy, they were open later, and there was a spot that became available that used to be the old pharmacy. And it just had a tiny orange for rent sign, and I thought, maybe this was really for rent. So I called the number. The Hirsch family, which is a very prevalent real estate family in the town, spoke to the 2 gentlemen. They said, you know, we'd love for you to rent it. And I said I would like to have both spots. I'd like to have the apartments above. I like the garage. I like the parking lot, and I like the whole thing. And they say, I don't know. Are you sure about that? I said, absolutely. So the positive about having that space was it had an apartment upstairs, and I could call upstairs to see what you and your brother were doing. So all of the growth of the company was intertwined through how to create a family amongst a company at the same moment, because it's important to be a wife and a mother and a boss and a friend. So you're trying to thread all of those things together. So that building was a perfect setup.
And to touch on that, and again, from the emotional side, from the leadership side, from you're involved in philanthropy, but being a woman in business, and to the scale that you're in is unique. Talk about your pride in that, and especially in this town.
Cape May is a very embracing town, and everyone that has assisted in my journey of success, I think maybe they want someone to support an underdog. I don't know. Or maybe they just want to help somebody because they've asked for help, or that they want to gamble or believe in something greater than what you could achieve. So I think I credit a lot of that to the people that have gathered around me to help my company grow.
We won't get it too emotional and get it off the rails here, because if not, we'll both be crying and very thankful. And I think we both come from a place, obviously you do, but from a son, to you're saying Cape May is an embracing place. I have gratitude because it's embraced our family, it's embraced us, and to be whatever the word is, a key part of the community with all your stores is tremendous. So we have Sunflowers, Cape May Trading Post, Kind Company, Les Silhouettes. What am I missing? The new one?
Fudge Kitchens.
All the Fudge Kitchens. And
Henry's and Harry's.
Henry and Harry's. I think it's key to paint the picture, because it's pretty amazing too, and hiring local. And talk about that, because I know that's something near and dear to you, and there's some wonderful, wonderful people that have raised me in your family, in your business, our business, your business, but a lot of them are local.
I think if staff loves Cape May, they become attracted to the company, because we are a year-round business. We're open every day. We are a very progressive retailer, meaning we try to embrace the best technology. We are involved in the communities. We are involved in each other and supporting growth and everyone gets to live 10 to 15 minutes from their workplace. They don't have to drive maybe 2 hours into New York City to experience a fashion company. And that plays a very important role to represent the brands of any industry, whether it's the intimate apparel, pajamas, sleepwear, or it's the fashion industry, which would be your Vineyard Vines, your Lilly Pulitzer, every national brand, the Patagonias of the world. People love shopping. And shopping can be a need, but shopping nowadays is a form of entertainment because you can buy anything online. But what we create is a theater, a retail theater, and getting you engaged and excited about shopping.
Talk
As
about
a
the
family.
training. I'm sorry, continue. Yeah, get you engaged in shopping. I cut you off, but the trading post, it sounds like what really you're describing more than anything. I mean, all your stores create that, but the trading post is what you're explaining.
It is, but Cotton Company of Cape May, that's the one that I think triggered the fact that families are here and families are shopping. So that was the one probably about 12 or 15 years ago, I started to realize that. And then with the new project, Cape May Trading Post at Dellas, Dellas was an iconic family establishment, very involved in the community. And that's where you went for everything. You went to buy your mattress there. Nowadays, you can hop online and buy your mattress.
Yeah.
So we
In a
don't need
box.
to sell mattresses, thank God. But you know, you're going there because you want to buy sheets. You want to buy Cape May t-shirts. You might want to buy, you know, a pair of Birkenstock flip-flops. You want to go there and experience Cape May
Cape
in
May
a
Brewing
souvenir.
Company t-shirts,
Cape May
Seaview
Brewing,
t-shirts.
yes.
Yeah.
Trying to get all the local brands to attach to that business.
Cup of coffee, scoop ice cream.
You can get all that. You can get a milkshake.
It's great.
I love it. So everyone comes into Dellas.
Yeah.
It's on the corner. It has 2 wide doors, and it's open to everyone. And that's what I love about that store.
Let's go back. I think before we go forward on Cape May, I want to circle back on your story, what drives you, where you get your inspiration from, because for those listening and just getting to know my mother or someone I've worked for, my boss or my friend or whatever it may be, again, I'm an emotional guy, I'm going to leave it there. Entrepreneur, someone I look up to. You are the hardest working person I know. You are caring, you have empathy, gratitude, all these amazing, amazing traits that I think takes to be a wonderful leader and just a wonderful person and mother. But it's and then the work ethic that just to you isn't even work. You just shrug it off and just roll. That's just unbelievably. I know where it comes from, but I think it's cool for you to tell that story about, you know, peeking out your window as a kid and your father's business. If that's where it comes from, I think that's where at least it stems from. That what hard work. The first sight. I guess my question should be, what was your first glimpse of hard work, and then what that means kind of for you now and how it's shaped you as an entrepreneur.
Growing up in the 1960s, my father opened up a trash company and business with 1 trash truck and grew it to, I'll say 5 or 6. I'm young, I don't know the exact number. But I remember sitting at the kitchen table and my mom would type out the invoice and she'd pass it to, I'll say myself. I folded the invoice, my sister put the envelope on, and my other sister put the stamp on. So I have early recollections of that, and I remember thinking, this is kind of fun. We're all doing this together. I don't even know what we're doing, but that was early on. But my father woke up every day. I remember looking out the window and thinking, why are they having all this fun out there at 4 o'clock in the morning? And off they went, and he really did work endless hours, 18, 20 hours, I would think, and to provide and grow. And I really didn't think that was anything different than what was needed to do. So I have really great fond memories of the trash business. Was then fueled by a pig farm that he had purchased. So the whole thing got connected. And I remember doing things with my dad that all were at the farm. And they were all fond memories of, but the pig side wasn't the greatest, but it was still fun.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there with dogs and the whole thing. We're going to let that lie, but good fond memories, neither here nor there. But I think that was cool. I think as I build this show, we build this show and I ask the questions, I wanted people to know kind of where your stems from, because if you know my mom, or you know Keith Lauderman, or you know Curtis Batchall in the mall, like you're going to see these figures in this town that have a lot of business. They're here. You know, that's unique. If you go to, let's say, we've talked a lot about Key West on this show. You may not know the local entrepreneur. You may not know the person who owns these bars and restaurants. But here, I think that's unique. And speak about that. Like, the figures in the town that make up this town, this ecosystem, all feeds each other. It's really cool. Everyone's really visible. People live here. You guys live here. You have a home here. You're 5 minutes from here, not even.
I actually think that is the successful ingredient of this town, because there aren't corporations per se in this town. It's all a thread.
Yep.
And when you come over that big bridge and you see that, for a lot of people, not necessarily all the business community, but for the guest that arrives here, to them, they've just got to their happy place. And if you're a business owner, our goal, my goal, probably a lot of the people that are running operations, our goal is to continue to make that the happy place for people. And by having a wonderful business in this town, it's a happy place for me. I love people that are happy to come to Cape May, are happy to shop and be involved. And they tell me that. I could be in the store and they just want to tell me how great it is.
Yeah.
And it's really important that the business leaders understand that we do need to appear rolled back. We know we have to be fully engaged, but how great is this that we have this canvas that we're all creating in these decades that are very important to the town.
Yeah, it all feeds itself. I think we have to discuss Curtis and his impact from Congress Hall to his, hotels, to the Beach Shack, to the Virginia, to Beach Plum Farm. I mean, it's so unique on a massive scale, and so many different individuals and so many people, and it draws all different people from all over the country. Talk about Curtis, and you've grew up in this town from a young entrepreneur now to a seasoned entrepreneur. He's in the very similar path as you are, and he's just done an unbelievable job.
He's definitely inspirational. He has a vision. He's a visionary, and that's a very rare trait, a visionary who wants to actually work on that craft. And this town is filled with layers of that kind of talent. He was actually my first landlord in Cape May, and I think he's going to continue to do great things in the town, and he's got a special vision for this town because he really grew up in the town. I don't know his history, but he's done wonderful things and new exciting things, I'm sure, on the horizon that are going to continue to happen here with him.
We interviewed him. He held him close to chest, close to vest.
Yeah,
of
he
what was
doesn't
coming.
want to say too much.
This is great too. This is what makes Cape May cool too. I mean, like, I think it's polished. There's no hiding. Like, there's this awesome blue collar side of it. These guys it looks like they're making room for pilings, or they're dredging something. There's a scallop boat pulling out.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
This is a craft town. That's what I call it.
What's that mean?
People are so good at their craft.
Yeah.
And their craft could be a chef, like the Fudge Kitchen. I have chefs. I don't have fudge makers. I have chefs.
Yeah,
that's a craft.
Yeah.
This gentleman out here, or who's ever driving the scallop boat, these are crafts that maybe are generational and have passed down from father to father or father to daughter. I don't know, the history of it all, but it's intriguing. And there's, once again, a lot of pockets to be uncovered.
Yeah. Talk about how the town's changed since you've been here, because you got stores all over, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, and we talk about different towns and where you've been and how things have changed and how retail has changed. I want to ask you that too, but just talk about Cape May, how it's changed. They've done a wonderful job, in my opinion, preserving what makes it great, but also evolving with the times and the sheer mass amounts of people that come into town now compared to what it used to be.
this town could be packed. The town could be packed and you actually don't really feel how dense it is. And I do contribute a lot of the success of tourism and hospitality to the city, the powers that be, how they can disperse cars and people, and they keep it balanced. The more Cape May becomes exposed to the tourism it's experienced over the last 10 years, 20 years, we'll have to continue to figure out how we're going to allow it to stay as simple and calm as it is, but still invite everyone into one of the greatest spots in New Jersey.
Retail. Everybody, right, family business. Everybody's in your business, which is awesome. And we have a wonderful open family. You know, I work for the company, Kerry works for the company. He's unbelievable, my brother. Obviously, Big Dave's involved. Everybody knows Big Dave in town. Even to your point, our friends are involved in the family business with coming and just supporting the business and supporting in town, whether they're coming to spend money or give verbal support or just come by and just say hello or whatever it may be. Their support comes in all angles. But when I tell people that are asking about you and the business, you know, retail, or what's she doing, or she opened another store, brick and mortar retail. What? Come on. It said this on CNBC or that on this and that. Brick and mortar's down and this, that, the other thing. I said, I don't know. I mean, she's doing pretty good and she loves what she does and she is able to hire some wonderful people and all these wonderful people work for her. It seems like a great thing. To those that say brick and mortar retail is dead, what say you?
Retail's a craft.
Retail
athletes. It might not be for everyone, but if you can understand that it's like a theater, it's a theater, it's a live theater. It's not for everyone. And the variables are great. The variables could be the weather, it could be the consumer, it could be the economy, it could be the flow of receipts, all of that. But you have, the best verbiage came out of a very dear friend of mine and ours from the Seaview, simmer down. Simmer down is one of the greatest quotes because
Craig Coffey,
you have to weather the storm, whatever that might be.
Yep.
And with retail, you could open the door one day and it's, you know, fabulous, and the next day there could be a torrential rainstorm, and you have to be ready to handle that. And maybe you know in the end everything, after 37 years of doing it, I know that everything will still be okay, and we'll open the doors again tomorrow.
Again, we'll go back to the history. I think it's great because this is awesome that people will get to hear this stuff. What drew you to retail, and your first job in retail, and then, you know?
My first real job in retail was at Ocean City Boardwalk in a store called Drift Inn and Sea, and it was a jewelry and a handbag store. And I had just graduated high school. I was not aligned to go to college at that moment, so I thought I might as well go to the beach, and I rented a house for the summer, and that's where I worked. And then after that, I then went to Bamberger's, now Macy's, and started to work there, and just grew every position, every opportunity. I also worked from the time that door opened, and I would want to make sure everyone knew I was the last person to leave it. So soon you get the keys to Macy's, you pretty much know what you're doing. And so that's...
Tell the New York City journey. I think that's a fun chapter for you. Traveling to and fro, opening the lingerie store. That's a good story.
It is a good story. So when I had an opportunity to go from retail into wholesale in New York City, I thought that would probably be a really great thing to do, because then I would know wholesale. And if I ever wanted to open my own business, I would know both ends of the spectrum and I would be able to negotiate well. So I took a position in the fashion industry and the garment industry in New York at 38th and 7th, a great fashion house, and I learned so much there. But I did commute 2 hours in, commuted 2 hours back. And about 7 months in, a rare opportunity opened, and a connection of my father-in-law asked if I wanted to open up a store. And I said, well, I wasn't ready to leave my New York City job, but of course I'll try to do this store. So I hired a manager, and I I had a retail company and worked in Manhattan for 5 years straight. And I did work pretty much every day, maybe a vacation or two every year, but that was about it. And I would get home on a Friday night from my week of New York City, and then I would work every Friday night, Saturday and Sunday. Your father would be in there writing the checks and paying the bills, and we would bring out a bottle of wine on a Saturday night and in the store, in the retail store. So we shared that with all the consumers walking in, and before you know it, he landed a telephone job and I was selling pajamas to someone. So it's all
Happy hour
intertwined.
again. It comes back to happy hour once in a while. A lot of great places to have happy hour in town. We're going to get to that in a second. I kind of want to put a bow on things from the serious standpoint. But I think it'd be cool, like, to go through your stores just briefly, like a quick overview of each store. Like, what do you expect walking into the lingerie store? What do you expect walking into Dellas?
You know, everyone always asks, you know, what is your favorite store?
Yeah.
And that is so hard to answer because when I go into each one, they mean something different. So when I go into the lingerie store, it's a beautiful, curated lace silhouettes lingerie. There's only about 600 intimate apparel stores put together like that. The leading brands of fine lingerie and sleepwear. That just gives me like such a pride that I can own a golden egg right there.
Yep.
And then I go to Cotton Company and I see every leading brand in the industry selling to our company. And that is a premier destination for leading brands. Patagonia, North Face, Salty Crew, you know, Southern Tide, Vineyard Vines. The list
Yeti.
goes on. And we actually, that's what we do. My buyers, they go out and they're there to source the best in class. And we love that. We love that pride, and we love that little shingle that we get to take with us. So, and then if you look at Sunflowers, that's what we would consider our coastal fashion house, if there is such a word.
Nice.
It's a coastal fashion house. And a lot of the boating lifestyle, the people that just want to get into the vibe of the town, leading brands such as Faraday, Peter Millar, Lily Pulitzer, Free People, you know, the list goes on for that. But it is definitely something special, something unique. It's wardrobing. It's something you're going to have in your closet for a long time. A Fudge Kitchen, I don't even need to say anything about that. That was started by two wonderful gentlemen, Paul Bogle and Joe Bogle. Dear friends, we happen to be neighbors for decades, and me just asking him, could I carry on your legacy, created a new division of my company. So that has a very special place in my heart. And that team is efficient. They are efficient, they are passionate, and they love what I do. They love what they do.
So professional.
So professional. They're crafters. Even the ladies that run the place, they run it, and they do it really well.
Yeah.
So I have to celebrate all of them. And the Cape May Trading Post, which was an opportunity last year to carry on another family's legacy. And I did talk to Kim Della many times that I'd love to do this. And she shared with me what her family did and how she would like someone to carry that on. So that is a lot of pride. And that's a busy store. That is one busy store.
That
and
is
it's
the
very
hub.
exciting.
And that's why we wanted to make this show, and this will
Yes.
show on the TVs in there. It's a community. This is a community. This was the opportunity, just being honest. This store presented the opportunity for this show. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because before you're like, we can't really do this with the lingerie store,
No.
you know. But this store, again, we had Greg Coffey on, and you guys will see all these episodes. Greg's talking about how Dellas, and I'm a football guy, obviously. Dellas is, or I shouldn't say obviously, but that's my past, that's my history. They had a 75-pound or whatever little football club, guys running around. Like, that's so cool. You're going to get involved with that with some of the local stuff. So, like, that's just...
It's a community store. And I have to still grow into what that means, because you're dealing with intimate apparel. Then you deal with the fashion sector. Now I'm getting an opportunity to deal with the jewelry sector by carrying on another brand that was in the town for 30 to 50 years called Henry's. And that's going to be called Henry's and Harry's. And now it's It's a jewelry store. It's fine jewelry. It's jewelry made out of sand, Cape May sand. There's all unique jewelry. So all these industries, you know, they make up that 3-block strip, and it's nothing better than our 3-block strip.
What a smart decision to close that road down, Washington Street.
This gentleman, Frank, he has a plaque there. He was a visionary, a lot like Curtis and some other people in the town. There's a lot of good visionary people here. It's fun.
What a choice. It comes to an end. You're like, what's this? It's the Washington Street Mall. It's a street. It was, and we were talking this morning. Different questions like, what's your favorite tidbit of history with this place? I know it's a really tough question to ask because it's like, you know, there's like war history here. That was a Navy base. Now it's the Coast Guard. You're like, what? This is a shore town. You know, the Lobster House. You know, the last night we're at Mayor's for dinner again, and wonderful locals are all there. It's great to see everybody in this town. You know, celebrating a hard, you know, week of work, and they're getting ready for the next week on a Sunday into Monday. And Alex Lauderman's talking about how there used to be a bar underneath the old schooners back in the day, like on the promenade, the arches, and you know, we're talking to Ross at Taco Cab, and he's like, the arches, what people don't understand is it got rid of all the telephone poles down Beach Avenue. Yeah, that's cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm like, and Ross is like, yeah, we don't have these big telephone poles here anymore. I'm like, that's really interesting. Is there a tidbit of history or something that you remember back to that you're like, man, this is super cool?
Still today, when you hear the horses walk down the street, that is something that is so unique. You may see it in New York City, maybe Charleston. It's not something you see everywhere. And one of the greatest, it was so unique, is to get in a carriage during the holidays with a tartan blanket and your hot chocolate in your Yeti cup and walk and trot around the town and look at Christmas lights. Look at the holiday lights. It is so much fun.
Yeah.
So that's one of the most unique. But there's layers of uniqueness. The theater, the arts that's in the town is fantastic. There's still some really great playhouses.
All right, let's do some quick hitters. I think that's the fun stuff. So, where's your favorite place in town? And I say, to quote my grandmother, your mother, and your grandmother, Carmela Rizzuto, where's your favorite place to get a cup of coffee? Because they're very Philly, wonderful ladies.
Coffee, Wawa.
Wow.
I can get another cup of coffee, but I probably can't get moving until I have my Wawa coffee for some reason.
I love it. The 48 ouncer, or whatever you get.
Yeah, 24 ounces.
The gallon. Favorite place to, you know, unwind after a day with a cocktail in Cape May?
I enjoy anything outside. I do like anything outside. So whether it be Mayor's, there's so many places. Lobster House.
The occasional rainy day, the Sea View. That's an establishment.
That's always a fan favorite. That's for sure.
That's an establishment. Everybody.
That's our cheers. That is our cheers of the town, I think.
Everyone's answer. Everybody. Clean sweep. Favorite place to go for a beer. Sea View. We got coffee. We got beer. Favorite place for a scoop of ice cream. And what's your order? Other than Dellas.
That's a tough one. I don't know.
I think it's pretty easy. I thought I knew your
Dry
answer.
dock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dry dock. That's where you go. I don't venture far from
No,
this.
you don't.
From this little zone.
It's a little zone. Mayor's, Lobster House, Sea View, Dry Dock, Wawa, Washington Street Mall. What's your order at Dry Dock?
Chocolate ice cream.
Nothing
chocolate
on
sprinkles.
top. Chocolate
That's
sprinkles,
it.
chocolate ice cream.
Yep.
One of my mom's wonderfully guilty pleasures is Hershey chocolate.
Absolutely.
Getting the inside look on KT, and she'll hide the Hershey Kisses in some random vessel around the house, and you open it up and you're like, here they are. We found them. Favorite beach to hang out on in Cape May?
They're rare. I'm not really a beach person. I'm more of a pool person.
More of a work person.
More of a walk person.
You don't-
I probably see sunset more than I see the sunshine brightly.
I'm inside a store. That's great. Man, there's so many cool areas around town. Now, like we're gonna start naming these little parts. Obviously, Cape May Point's its own part. West Cape May, its own part. Washington Street Mall downtown's its own part. Your Poverty Beach area is really unique. At the Coast Guard area, we got to name this little area. I would say this is my favorite part of town now.
I don't know if it's considered a marina district or it ever was. See, the answer to that is we have to go back and look at history.
There we go.
Because when we look at history and we'll study maps, we'll know what to call this.
Yeah, because what is it? It's like the circle from Dry Dock to Mayor's in a big, like quarter-mile stretch. What's your favorite little holiday to celebrate in this town? I mean, the Christmas parade has just become bonkers.
The Christmas parade is a lot of fun. July 4th is very fun. I close my company at night when everyone's at the beach, and we celebrate it at the Lobster House. And that's kind of been a fun thing. It's very ceremonial, where you get is it the whale watching boat that comes through here and everyone's singing and everyone's waving? That's a tradition that I enjoy.
It's
July
a staff
4th.
party, right?
It's a staff party, but it's people. People are inviting other people, so it's fun.
Yeah. Your favorite restaurant in town?
God, that's hard.
You're sitting right here. Just say it.
Well, endlessly, I go to the Lobster House. I can always find a spot. It's either at the counter or it's the inside bar. It's a cloth dining room, a tablecloth in the dining room, or it's on the schooner.
Yeah. Mayor's, that's become a close second. They're not that far apart, so if you can't get into one, you can maybe get the
find
other.
the other.
This has been a wonderful question. We've got some amazing answers out of this. Has there been an interaction with a patron or with a staff member locally or with anybody in this town where you're like, man, it really warms my heart? It's a great story, a great relationship, and there's stuff that you do in this town for people that people don't even know about from a philanthropic and giving standpoint, which is fine, and we'll keep it that way. But a story that you could tell from, again, someone who's come into a store that you've either established a relationship with or they come back every year and say hello. I know it's a really tough, open-ended question, but you've been in this business for so long. There has to be some fun stories along the way with people coming into the stores that you built relationships with.
That's tough because there's so many, Carl, so many.
I know. That's why I drug the question along, because I saw your wheels spin, and I'm like, I got to ask this 4 different ways.
Yeah.
I think it's just
it's ceremonial for people. Like I'll find that the endless stories that are entwined through all of the retail establishments is that people want everything the same. They don't want you to change anything, but yet they do. They want it to be progressive, but yet they don't. So people come in and they love shopping here every year, and they've come with their mom or their girlfriends, and then 4 years later they'll come back and they're without that person in their life. But they're doing that ceremonial thing to mark a birthday or what they used to do every year. So that always resonates with me, and I try to be sensitive to that. But yeah,
I love it. 2 last questions here. The first one is the question that I asked you. I said, Mom, what do you want me to do here when it comes to questions that, what's a question you want me to ask everybody? And you said, ask them what the next 10 years looks like for them and for Cape May. And I don't know if you knew the question would end up coming back to you, because it's a hard question to answer. What does the next 10 years look like for you as a business person in this town? And for the company and for the city.
Yeah. Well, I look at it still as a blank canvas, even though it dates back to the 1800s, because there's still layers and layers that can get stronger and healthier without getting so dense that we don't want to enjoy it. So the way that works itself out will be interesting, but being one of the best coastal shopping towns, because that's the sector that I'm in, that's my responsibility as a business owner, and that's what I will be thinking about. And there is not an answer, so you always have to evaluate the year, and then maybe just look 2 years out, and then see how that works out, and then plan from there.
Tough question. It really is.
It's a tough question.
It's tough. The Cape May has done a marvelous job. And I don't believe, all the Cape May Facebook page, things are changing. Everything changes. It has to. There's so many people. It has to, for safety, for volume, for business. But they have done a wonderful job preserving it. Another town, again, this is a personal thing, but this is a personal show. I really wanted some people to get to know you. A town that our family loves is Key West, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no secret that a lot of people from Cape May spend a ton of time down there. Talk about the synergy between the two towns. Greg Coffey's calling for, hey, you need to be sister cities and we need to do stuff. And maybe someday someone like yourself, you're the person to do it. But just talk about Key West and that special little place, that special little island, and this kind of special little island. And there's similarities. There's a lot of them.
So Key West is very much like Cape May. It is rolled back. It's exit zero.
Yeah.
It's at the end. And it's very historic in its properties and its buildings. It has a lot of character and it has a lot of history. So someday I do hope that we could be sister cities, and I'm sure we could probably make that happen as we get focused on it. And being a sister city means that you are in agreement to preserve. A sister city isn't always about growth. It's about preserving and keeping it strong and healthy and being unique. And that's what I love about Key West, and that's what I love about Cape May.
That's it. KT, we'll do high fives. We won't do handshakes.
That's a wrap.
Good stuff, Mom.